Welcome to The Know, I'm Mica.
And I'm Gus.
One of the favorite tools of the trade for angry gamers is getting lots of attention in recent weeks thanks to players review bombing games like Fallout 4 and Firewatch on Steam, and now Valve has taken action.
The company has announced some revolutionary new tools to fight back against the practice and its charts.
Okay, sure. But before we get into these life-changing charts, a tiny bit of background about review bombing and why it's been in the spotlight recently. If you're somehow unaware, review bombing is when players flock to a Steam game en masse to leave negative reviews when they're unhappy with something surrounding the game in question.
This has taken a variety of forms over the last few years. Sometimes it's because of busted PC ports, sometimes it's because of DRM, sometimes it's because of shady microtransactions or the release of unpopular DLC.
But other times it gets a little bit more muddy with players using reviews for things maybe tangentially related to the game or even completely unrelated, like if a developer weighs in on something political or they don't like their dog or something.
It's a good dog.
Good, I mean,
a good dog.
Every dog is a good dog.
Good dog,
right?
though. We've seen reasons from all over the map in the last few weeks thanks to a couple of games. Fallout 4 got hit by review bombs after the release of Creation Club. Players showed up in droves to voice their dissatisfaction with Bethesda's attempt to resuscitate paid mods. We got it again with Firewatch, where players slammed the game following controversy over developer Campo Santo's use of DMCA takedowns against PewDiePie.
We're not going to debate the merits of players leaving these reviews in this video because either way, Valve has decided it doesn't always accomplish the goals of what user reviews are intended for, and now they're going to do something about it.
They revealed their review bomb fighting measures in a new blog post over on Steam, which is actually a super transparent look into their decision making, providing the company's reasoning behind their changes and why they think the review bombs can be a problem.
Valve said in the post, "So why is review bombing a problem? On one hand, the players doing the bombing are fulfilling the goal of user reviews. They're voicing their opinion as to why other people shouldn't buy the game. But one thing we've noticed is that the issue players are concerned about can often be outside the game itself."
They go on to list what some of the reasons might be before concluding many of these out-of-game issues aren't very relevant when it comes to the value of the game itself, but some of them are real reasons why a player may be unhappy with their purchase.
The company also dropped some interesting data about what happens to the games in question after the brief period of rage is over, and whether these review bombs have any lasting effect, stating that based on the data they have access to, overall player sentiment about a game typically goes back to its previous positive rating after review bombs are over.
That means that a purchaser's feelings about a game they bought doesn't seem to be affected by the review bombs, and whatever issue was brought up, be it something that happens inside the game or outside the game, it doesn't matter to most players because the positive to negative review ratio usually balances itself. In short, review bombs very rarely have a lasting impact.
Valve said, "Review bombs make it harder for the review score to achieve its goal of accurately representing the likelihood that you'd be happy with your purchase if you bought a game. We thought it would be a good fix to that if we could do it in a way that didn't stop players from being able to voice their opinions."
Which is good. They want players to be able to keep their ability to stick it to a developer if needed, because it's definitely a powerful thing, and really sometimes that's all players have as a way to fight back when they don't like something going on in the game.
So what options did they discuss to combat this? Well, first they thought about removing the review score that forced players to read reviews themselves and determine if something outside the game matters to them enough to stop their purchase. But naturally the problem with that is that players really wanted that feature to begin with, as it's extremely helpful for buying.
Next up, they considered locking reviews for games where anomalous activity is detected. They compared it to how stock markets lock trading on stocks when things get wonky, but that caused potential issues too. One, it was logistically tough to figure out what the case should be and when to bring back reviews. Two, and most importantly, it limited players' voices, and Valve didn't want to do that.
Good guy, Valve. Lastly, they also looked at changing how review scores are calculated to help make up for strange activity for a short period of time. But the problem there was that it would probably lead to less accuracy overall and wouldn't actually solve the issue they were trying to fix.
Which is why they landed on, strangely enough, using historical graphs of review scores showing how it's changed over time and when it's spiked and dipped.
Valve said, "In the end, we decided not to change the ways that players can review games and instead focused on how potential purchasers can explore the review data. Starting today, each game page now contains a histogram of the positive to negative ratio of reviews over the entire lifetime of the game. And by clicking on any part of the histogram, you are able to read a sample of the reviews from that period."
They went on to say, as a potential purchaser, it's easy to spot temporary distortions in the reviews, to investigate why that distortion occurred, and decide for yourself whether it's something you care about. This approach has the advantage of never preventing anyone from submitting a review, but does require slightly more effort on the part of potential purchasers.
There's also the added benefit for games that slowly add more content or address problems over time, because players could see how the review scores trended upwards as developers listened to feedback, or downward if they said fuck you.
And they wrap things up by saying this will probably need more work in the future, but for now they hoped it'd help clear things up for potential customers while also allowing players to rage when necessary.
All in all, this is definitely an interesting tactic on the part of Valve, and it shows a lot of careful, well thought out consideration, with the end result being that customers can see whether or not recent review scores are statistical outliers, and they can figure out for themselves.
Naturally, some will say this doesn't fix the problem at all, and that the real problem is developers being shitty, leaving players little recourse to fight back.
Unfortunately, that's not always Valve's job to police, unless, of course, developers are abusing the platform itself, like clearly running a scam or actively suing players for criticism, because, yeah, we've seen that happen before.
I can't believe it. It's understandable that Valve doesn't want to wade into that territory because then things get tricky. How do they figure out if one developer is being bad versus another? The lines will always be a little blurry, and they also wouldn't necessarily have access to whether or not they were dealing with a vocal majority or minority. All of that information would be on the developer side anyway.
In the end, they've left that up to, well, the players, and they're doing what they can to allow players to have that weapon in their pockets, while also giving developers a small shield to help them out too. It's probably not a perfect solution, and we'll probably see players finding another way to game the system over time, because gamers are persistent, if nothing else.
It's another game to play. What do you guys think of Steam's tactics to fight review bombs? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on all things related to Steam, PC gaming, and apparently meta gaming terms from Gus, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the now.
Let me finish cleaning my glasses. Don't ever look at me without my glasses. In those rare occasions when I do have to wear contacts, I wear glasses with no glass in them.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're just like, I can't go outside.
It's like my security blanket. All right.
If you die in the game, you die for real.
Yeah.
That one.